All right, WWB Universe. I am the varsity athlete, Jeremy Bodette, and I am here today with a very special guest, Jon Spoor, founder, CEO, big guy, alpha and omega of Standing 8 Entertainment, the North Country's premier professional wrestling promotion. Thanks for being here, Jon.
Thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to sit down and talk to you.
So we're pushing a new show that's coming up now, March 2nd, Mall Mayhem 2. Big show that's coming up.
Aviation Mall, Mayhem.
At Aviation Mall. And I think we just want to get to know you a little bit because a lot of the fans out there maybe haven't met you, don't know you. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about you. How did you get your start in wrestling? What brought you to this point with us?
Not knowing what I was supposed to do past high school and wanting to be an MMA fighter led me to pro wrestling. 18 years old, most kids are like, okay, what are we doing? We're going to college. We're going to the military. I was fighting dudes in their grandparents' basements, right? I was getting ready for fights, and I was helping people prepare for fights. After some years of that, and then like getting friends into MMA as well, like I traveled for this, right? Like I spent a lot of time out in Illinois with a UFC Hall of Famer, Matt Hughes. I'm not sure if any of you guys know that.
Yes,
if you're an MMA fan.
We've heard of him.
So I trained under Matt Hughes for as soon as like when I was out of high school. And I came back here, started running MMA fights in Saratoga, New York. I watched this kid fight a dude, and like after he won the fight, but like he wasn't the same guy that I saw go into the cage, right? So I think that would have been like one.
You're talking mentally?
Yeah. So what happened was he got like rocked in the face, like right off the bat. He got like, and he fought a scary guy, a scary dude. We were all kind of worried, but I mean, this kid is tough as nails too. I mean, he knows it, and he fought that whole fight. I knew something was wrong too because I was cornering him. He got through it, but like he was not there while doing it, which is crazy.
So the danger factor.
But and during that time, I was taking care of my grandmother who had pretty much Alzheimer's, right? Like dementia. So like the realization of like how your brain can be affected by obviously trauma. Like I spent a lot of time in sports and all that stuff growing up, and like football, I kind of wish that I could take those years back because those were guys that were just telling us to like ram our heads into each other as hard as we could and just damaging ourselves, So fighting, realize, hey, if I have a sharp brain, which sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, and I want to keep this as sharp as I can moving forward, probably getting smashed in the head repeatedly isn't the way to move forward with that. So I just figured, what's the next craziest thing I could do next to fighting? Pro wrestling.
So you got started in pro wrestling, you started moving in that direction, but what led you from the performance side to the promotion side? What bridged that gap for us? How did you go from participating in the matches in somebody else's promotion to creating your own?
There's no pro wrestling in this area. You have a couple promotions that have like, they've been here and there, but they never really like did enough to like grow pro wrestling. It was really just a bunch of guys who knew that if they got together on a weekend, they'd be able to draw 150, 200 people. They'd all get cheered and clapped for, and then they just move on with their life. I want to be a pro wrestler. Yes, I want to travel the world and everything else, but I want to pro wrestle in my hometown area. If nobody else is willing to step up and do that, then like the only way I can make it happen is if I do it myself, right? Like I can't rely on other people to do it.
So you've been at it for a couple of years now. Do you find that there is a hunger in this area for professional wrestling? Is there a fan base?
I do believe that there is. I mean, some of the people that are from Insane Games were at the show, the last show. They probably will say the same thing that I said, but like, when you go into a new venue, you never know like what to expect with new audience. You don't know if they've seen wrestling a million times. They've seen it once, if it's their first time. And at the mall, we basically, that was the case too. But like with the amount of people that were there, like you really couldn't tell how many people were in the crowd. It was just like, I don't know if it's some of it's the mall and the acoustics in the mall, but it's like it just makes it sound even bigger than
it goes right around the corner and down the hallway, and people start poking their heads out saying, what's going on out there? Tell us about the character that you developed. Heel, face, where does it come from? How does it reflect a piece of you? Tell us a little bit about the Strangler.
So Strangler Spoor is the name is newer, and I'm talking like within the last year.
Mm-hmm.
I've only actually wrestled as Strangler Spoor once, which was at the mall.
The last Mall Mayhem
Mall
in November. Yep.
Somehow, and I want this to surface a little bit, a new company starts in Poughkeepsie named ACW. You know, they booked the Strangler, but they didn't present him as the Strangler. And there's only too many. You only get so many more chances of doing that before, you know, he has to take care of business for himself. You know?
I see.
Aviation Mall Mayhem 1 was the first time actually like really presenting myself as the Strangler. I have always been Jon Spoor in the beginning. Part of me is like, okay, how am I going to, if I'm being booked locally, like how am I going to make money? I'm not going to make money if somebody calls me, you know, Bumblebee the Magnificent, right? Like nobody's going to.
I don't know. There's a Doink the Clown.
I think Bumblebee the Magnificent will be at a Aviation Mall Mayhem soon. But, so yeah, it was just Jon Spoor. Having the MMA background that I did and, you know, parlaying it into pro wrestling and everything. At first, I kind of wanted to move away from that. The whole, like, oh, I'm a tough guy, Brock Lesnar wannabe or whatever. But as, like, the years went on, I kind of, it's one of those things. It's like, do what you're good at, right? Mm-hmm. When it comes to pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. And realizing that, like, the whole, like, submission ground MMA kind of style of pro wrestling is like what really I'm good at. You know, like you see me do it in the ring, you're like, wow, that guy knows what he's doing. If you tell me to go wrestle a lucha match, might have some holes in my game a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. I dare you though. But yeah, Strangler Spoor, he's a bad dude. You don't want to be in an alleyway or like in an elevator with the Strangler. He's mean. Let's
talk about the event. Who is on the card? Who is the card set for Mall Mayhem 2?
The main event is Strangler Spoor. Obviously, you've seen the poster. I'm going against an MMA legend. Mm-hmm. His name's King Mo.
Yep.
At one point in time, he was the highest paid MMA fighter not to be signed in the UFC. And I would think that, he never actually got signed to the UFC, but he's like,
badass.
Yeah.
And that's a no ropes contest.
Yeah. So Blood Sport is obviously like a play off my name in a way, but it's also, Blood Sport with Jean-Claude Van Damme. But so, yeah, like with my background and having connections to the MMA world and everything, again, blending the pro wrestling and MMA is just something that I'm always probably going to end up doing. So the card, Strangler Spoor, King Mo, in terms of like a performer that's performed in this area, King Mo is, for him to just be here and then being able to perform with him, it's pretty crazy. Also, Fox Vineyard, he is you guys might have heard his name before.
Yep.
He's out of Watervliet.
Yep.
He'll be on the card. Shane Alden, who actually runs World of Hurt Wrestling.
Yep.
He will be on the card as well. Tiffany Avatar, who is the NYCW Women's Champion. I train her. She will be on the card. Yeah,
that's a good lineup.
There's some locals. And there's some vets that will, this is all like a process. We're trying to get something going here, and I don't know. Again, like I said, at the end of the day, I take the MMA influence and kind of blend it in with the pro wrestling. When I'm making matches and everything, like I kind of like see it as that way still too, right? Like,
Cool. Well, we're looking forward to it. We're definitely going to be there. And we hope that you guys are there too. March 2nd, Aviation Mall. Aviation Mall Mayhem 2. Be there. Strangler Spoor. Kicking ass. Taking names.
thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. This was a fun time.
We'll see you there.
Awesome. Thank you.